The movie begins in a laboratory where a rat accidentally gets trapped in a cage. As it sniffs around, an unseen force suddenly tears it apart and consumes it. Meanwhile, the main character, Sebastian, a scientist, is working on a chemical formula on his computer. His simulation fails, but after a brief glance at his beautiful neighbor, he gets inspired and reworks the formula. This time, it works. Thrilled, Sebastian calls his colleague, Linda, to share the success and jokingly mentions they should prepare for a Nobel Prize. After the call, Linda wakes up another colleague, Matthew, revealing their secret romantic relationship. They agree to keep it hidden for now. Later, they head to the highly secure lab, where Sebastian uses his fingerprint and password to access it. Inside, they study animals that are invisible and can only be seen through thermal imaging. Matthew interacts with an agitated gorilla named Isabel. Wearing thermal goggles, he tries to calm her, but she bites his hand and escapes her cage. Chaos follows as Isabel runs around the lab, and Sebastian and Matthew manage to corner her. Sebastian tranquilizes the invisible gorilla, though Sarah, a veterinarian, protests the use of an untested serum. Sebastian dismisses her concerns, rudely pointing out that she was hired for her expertise, not her personal opinions. Later, Linda prepares the serum Sebastian developed, which could make the invisible animals visible again. Carefully, she injects it into Isabel's veins, hoping for a breakthrough. The serum temporarily works, making Isabel partially visible. However, she soon goes into cardiac arrest, causing panic in the lab. The team quickly uses a defibrillator on her, and thankfully, it works. Isabel's heartbeat stabilizes, and the serum makes her fully visible. The lab erupts in relief and celebration, with Sarah optimistic about Isabel's recovery. To mark the success, the team heads to a restaurant to celebrate. A week later, Sebastian presents their findings to a Pentagon committee. He shares that his team has developed a formula to make animals invisible. When Dr. Kramer asks if they've created a way to reverse the process, Sebastian lies, claiming they haven't yet. Linda and Matthew are shocked but remain silent. Dr. Kramer warns the team to find the reversion quickly or risk being replaced. Outside, Linda confronts Sebastian about lying. He explains that revealing the reversion would lead to the Pentagon taking control of their project. He shares a bold plan to conduct unauthorized human trials, aiming to revolutionize science and secure a Nobel Prize. This alarms Matthew, but Sebastian dismisses his concerns. Later, Sebastian informs the team about the risky experiment. Sarah is horrified, questioning how such a dangerous plan got approval. Sebastian insists on moving forward, determined to take the project to the next level. He declares he will be the first human subject for the experiment. On the day of the procedure, Matthew tries to dissuade Sebastian, but he refuses to listen and mocks him for his fears. Sebastian's determination leaves the team divided, setting the stage for a risky and unpredictable experiment. The team prepares Sebastian for the experiment by connecting him to an IV and securing him on a bed. He admits feeling tense as his heart rate spikes. When the irradiated serum is ready, Sebastian insists on injecting it himself, saying he doesn't want to blame anyone if things go wrong. After the injection, the team waits anxiously, but there's no immediate change. Suddenly, Sebastian begins convulsing as patches of his skin turn invisible. He experiences intense pain, far more than expected, and his vital signs become unstable, suggesting he's close to a seizure. The team prepares the defibrillator, but Matthew advises waiting as Sebastian's condition begins to stabilize. The transformation completes, and Sebastian becomes fully invisible. A technician named Frank marks the exact moment the phase shift occurs. Though Matthew reassures the team that Sebastian is physically fine, he remains unconscious from the ordeal. 17 hours later, Sebastian wakes up in pain, struggling to open his eyes. Linda and Matthew explain that his transparent eyelids prevent him from shutting out the light. Curious about his new condition, Sebastian looks at himself in the mirror before heading to the lab. There, he surprises his team, who use thermal goggles to see him. Matthew and Linda help him return to his room, setting up observation monitors to track his condition. Later, Sarah, tasked with monitoring Sebastian, falls asleep during her shift. Taking advantage of the situation, Sebastian sneaks into the observation room and quietly touches her, crossing a troubling boundary that leaves the audience uneasy about his intentions. When Sarah wakes up, Sebastian pretends to be asleep in his bed. Disturbed by the incident, Sarah shares her concerns with Linda, who is unsure if it really happened. Later, Matthew wants to confront Sebastian, but Sarah advises against it. During medical checkups, Sebastian continues to make Sarah uncomfortable with inappropriate behavior. The team begins discussing their growing concerns about Sebastian's behavior as an invisible man. One night, during Linda's shift, Sebastian makes inappropriate advances toward her, but she firmly rejects him. The next day, the team attempts to use the serum to reverse Sebastian's invisibility. However, the process causes him to choke, with his organs appearing and disappearing erratically. They manage to stabilize him but decide to keep his condition a secret from the committee. Since Sebastian will remain invisible for a while, the team creates a synthetic mask with holes for his eyes and mouth. Seeing himself in the mirror with the mask on, Sebastian is startled by his appearance. Meanwhile, Linda and Matthew work from home to develop the reversion serum but struggle to make progress. Matthew admits that Sebastian's brilliance often allowed him to solve complex problems quickly, except when it came to respecting boundaries. Over time, Sebastian's physical and psychological health deteriorates from constant testing. He becomes increasingly irritable and argues with Matthew about the lack of progress. Linda tries to comfort him, but frustration builds as the team feels stuck. One night, Sebastian decides to leave the lab. He informs Carter, a colleague, but Carter tries to stop him, reminding him of the strict rules. Sebastian insists that he makes the rules, asserting his authority over the project. Sebastian leaves the compound, promising to return in a few hours. Shortly after, Carter informs Linda about his departure. Outside, Sebastian evades the police guard and drives off. At a traffic light, he frightens a couple of children before heading to his apartment to collect some belongings. While at his apartment, Sebastian notices his neighbor undressing through her window. Realizing he is completely invisible, a dark idea takes hold. He removes his mask, sneaks into her apartment, and stares at her. Tragically, he crosses a line and assaults her. Meanwhile, Linda arrives at Sebastian's apartment, finds his mask, and realizes he has been there. Back at the lab, the team discusses how to find him while keeping his condition a secret. Unexpectedly, Sebastian returns, claiming he only went to gather a few things. Linda confronts him about his unauthorized outing, and Matthew questions his decision to go out in public. Sebastian defends himself aggressively, asserting his authority as the project leader. When Linda threatens to report him to the committee if he leaves again, he begrudgingly agrees to stay. The next day, Matthew thinks he has found a solution to the reversion problem and eagerly shares it with the team. However, the simulation fails at 95%, leaving everyone frustrated. Sebastian, visibly angry, storms out of the room. Later, he tampers with the security system, altering the camera feed to make it look like he is in the lab. Sebastian secretly goes to Linda's apartment to spy on her, but becomes enraged when he sees Matthew there. In a fit of jealousy, he smashes a window. Linda immediately suspects Sebastian and calls the lab to check the cameras. However, the rigged footage shows him still in bed, creating doubt. A disturbed Sebastian then sneaks back into the lab and, in a shocking act of cruelty, kills a dog. The next morning, Sarah discovers the dead animal while feeding the others. She confronts Sebastian, but he casually denies any involvement. The altered security footage again shows him in bed all night. Linda, however, is convinced he tampered with the system. Calling a team meeting, Linda and the others decide to report Sebastian's behavior to their superiors. Unbeknownst to them, Sebastian is eavesdropping. Linda and Matthew go to Dr. Kramer's house and reveal everything. Furious about the unauthorized experiments, Kramer promises to take immediate action. However, Sebastian, who has followed them invisibly, intervenes. After Linda and Matthew leave, Sebastian attacks Kramer, dragging him to the pool and drowning him. The next day, Linda returns to the lab, where Sebastian startles her, mentioning they have a busy day ahead. Matthew explains that Sebastian returned at 3 a.m. and has been wandering around the lab ever since. Soon after, they learn that Kramer mysteriously drowned in his pool the previous night. Alarmed, Linda tries to call the general, but the line is dead. They discover that all outside connections have been cut. Realizing they're trapped in the lab, the team starts searching for answers. To their horror, they find a technician's lifeless body outside a door, making it clear that Sebastian has turned dangerously violent. Refusing to back down, Linda activates the motion detectors and spots Sebastian on the monitor. Matthew and Carter set out to find him while the others keep watch. Sebastian surprises them, and in the chaos, Matthew accidentally shoots a pipe, causing vapor to make Sebastian partially visible. An intense fight follows, ending with Carter gravely injured. Sebastian escapes and traps Matthew in a tunnel. He manipulates the environment, raising the temperature to disable the goggles that could detect him. Linda rushes to help Matthew while the rest try to save Carter. Sarah and Frank find Carter, but his injuries are severe. Sarah goes to get blood for a transfusion, leaving Frank with Carter. In the lab, as Sarah retrieves blood packets, she hears Sebastian enter. Acting quickly, she pours the blood on the floor, hoping to reveal him, but he doesn't appear immediately. When she tries to leave, Sebastian ambushes her, overpowers her, and kills her. Meanwhile, Linda and Matthew return to find Frank just as Carter succumbs to his injuries. The three go in search of Sarah, only to discover her lifeless body. Grief turns to terror when Sebastian sneaks up on Frank and kills him with a metal crowbar. Sebastian then injures Matthew and locks him and Linda in the freezer. Desperate, Linda uses duct tape to close Matthew's wound and tries to open the freezer door but fails. Trapped and running out of time, Linda and Matthew must find a way to escape before Sebastian can strike again. Sebastian, preparing to escape, gathers materials to blow up the lab. He mixes chemicals and tests them as makeshift grenades. Meanwhile, in the freezer, Linda creates a makeshift magnet using the defibrillator, which allows her to pull the lever and open the door. She helps Matthew out, starts a fire to warm them up, and grabs a flamethrower to track down Sebastian. Sebastian sets a bomb to detonate in 5 minutes. As he heads to the elevator to escape, Linda intercepts him and sets him on fire, roasting him badly. Sebastian flees, but Linda activates the sprinkler system to make him visible. Unfortunately, he surprises her again, attacking viciously and attempting to choke her with his leg. Matthew arrives just in time to knock Sebastian down, but Sebastian recovers quickly and swings a crowbar at them. He misses and strikes the electric grid instead, electrocuting himself. Believing him dead, Linda and Matthew begin searching for the hidden bomb but fail to find it in time. The bomb detonates, but they take cover and survive the blast. The duo attempts to escape the collapsing building using an emergency ladder through the elevator shaft. As they climb, Sebastian reappears and grabs Linda's leg. During their struggle, they fall back onto the elevator platform, sending it plunging downward. Despite their injuries, they continue to fight. In a shocking moment, Sebastian distracts Linda by forcibly kissing her. Seizing the opportunity, Linda grabs the elevator cable and releases the platform, sending Sebastian falling into the flames below. This time, he is consumed by the fire for good. Linda climbs to safety, and she and Matthew escape the building. The movie ends with the two reuniting outside, battered but alive, ready to move forward together.